Hey everybody, this is Paige from Mosaic Moments, and today I'm going to show you 2 different ways you can make hidden journaling on your layouts. So I don't know if you're like me, I love to fill my pages with my photographs. I take a lot of photos and I just want to show them all on a layout, and sometimes I just can't get myself to add a journaling block for that reason because I'm like, I want to have my photos. But a lot of times the photos don't necessarily tell the whole story either. So today I'm going to show you how you can create hidden journaling for those times when you want to show more of your photographs, but you still want a place to put that journaling. So for this first example, you will need a cutting mat. I'm using the one from Mosaic Moments. And before the video started, I made a mat and photo that could fill a 4x5 space on the grid paper. So I just created this with the basic die bundle. So basically you want to pick your pattern and then choose the spot. I'm using my focal point as a spot to have my journaling, and so you want to go ahead and cut the size you want your journaling to be hidden in. So I made that beforehand, and then I did type my journaling up at the computer. You can also handwrite if that's easier for you. And what I did is I printed it at the size of my mat and photo I just showed you, but then on the side I'm gonna fold, I made it an extra 1/2 inch over here. And you may notice around the journaling I have a light line here. I made it the thinnest line possible, and I'm just gonna cut around that on the mat. So I'm just going to show you how I cut this out real quick. Again, when you make this on the computer, you want the journaling block to be the size of the block you want to place it on, and then add another 1/2 inch on the side you want to fold over. So you can see I have that extra spacing on the side because I know I'm going to have it fold on the left side of my journaling block here. And of course you want to add some repositionable glue on the back of the sheet of paper. And to cut around it, I'm going to use my ruler. So again, I printed the lines for the outside because it's easier for me to just take the ruler and line it up along those lines. And I'm very careful, and I want to make sure I get it right. And then I'm going to use my X-Acto knife to cut. So that way I'm not figuring out where to exactly cut on the mat and figuring out the measurements and all that. I kind of like having the lines here, and I know to just line up my ruler next to the lines and then cut, and you don't have to worry about the measuring. So I'm going to go ahead and cut all the way around my journaling block here. And again, whether you're hand cutting or using the computer, basically you want to make your journaling block the same size of the grid measurements you want to cover, plus add another 1/2 inch on the side you plan to fold. All right, so now that I've cut all the way around, I'm going to flip it over on the back side, and then at the 1/2 inch mark on the mat, pencil in a couple of marks on the top and bottom. On the side, you want to create the fold, and the lines help me know where to put the crease line. So I have this tool called the Score Buddy, and I'm trying to just line it up over one of these lines here, and I'm just taking my time to make sure I do this correctly. And I'm going to take my tool here and make a crease line. So definitely use a score tool. You could probably fold it, but you probably wouldn't get it straight. So definitely use a score tool to create these folds. There's a lot of different options out there. All right, I erased the little lines. You probably don't have to do that because it'll be covered up anyway, but I guess that's just me. Anyway, and I'm using the score tool to really make sure that fold is creased really well. And now that I have the little fold, I'm going to use my glue. I'm using my repositionable glue, but if you want to, you can use permanent glue if you feel like that's going to be more helpful to leave the flap on top. So I basically glued that entire line, and now I'm going to place my matted photograph on top. And again, this was measured to fit the grid paper area I want to cover. And so it's pretty easy to use the cutting mat to create this folded hidden journaling spot. And I do have a little bit of the background kind of showing behind my matted photograph here. So I'm just going to take my ruler and just cut off those little parts that are sticking out. So super easy if this happens to you, just take your ruler and you can just trim off the excess part. I notice I have a little bit of a sliver left over of that excess pieces, so I'm going to cut that off, and now I'm done creating my hidden journaling spot. So again, it really is just the size of the grid measurements you want to cover, and then add a 1/2 inch on the side you want to fold. And so basically you make a nice little flap here, like a little book cover basically. And then you can place it on the grid paper, and I'm gluing it on as normal. I'm putting a little bit of glue in each corner in the middle, and I am adding a little more glue because of the flap, it is a little bit heavier than what you would usually have for your mat and photo. So remember, there's double cardstock here. So it's a little bit heavy, so you may want to add extra glue. You may want to even use permanent glue if the repositionable kind is not sticky enough. Anyway, I'm just taking a little bit of glue off of here, and then as you can see, I can open it and close it, and it makes a great hidden journaling spot. And if needed, I do like the repositionable glue in case I don't get it on right the first time, so you can always pick it up and put it back on and just straighten it out if you need to. Anyway, so this is my final design. I really love this idea to make a hidden journaling spot by creating a flap. So you will have to take it out of your binder, but I kind of figure I probably won't be reading it that much anyway, and I usually like to leave a little note on the back of the page to let other people know, to help me remember there's a journaling spot on the layout. So you can write that on the back of the grid paper, journaling spot in center, so people know that there's something to read. Second way you can create hidden journaling is by using one of the pocket dies. Just keep in mind that all the pocket dies are only square shaped, so you will need to use a square space. This is the largest one in the set, so it fits 4x4 square spaces on the grid paper. And I'm just using a plain piece of cardstock here to cut with it, and it's really easy cut. Basically, you just take the entire pocket die cut here, and it already comes with little folded lines, so that's really nice. You don't have to figure out the placement of that. And next, I'm going to use the 4x4 square die from set A, and this is going to be the background. You probably could glue the pocket die directly on the grid paper, but I think it is better to have a little background piece to give it support, and things in your pocket might sit in there easier if you have this background piece. So super easy to cut these really quick. Obviously, the next step is to glue them down. So I'm gluing down my background piece first and lining it up on the grid paper here. And then next, I'm going to fold over the pocket die flaps. And again, it's really nice that those crease lines are there for you, so you don't have to figure out where to fold. So just take your time as you fold them. Right now I'm just using my fingers to get the flaps, and I felt like they weren't flattened enough. If you want a little bit of an extra, I don't know, crease, you can use the score tool to make sure the flaps are flattened down more. That's what I felt like I needed, but this is an optional tool. You may not have to use it. And then I'm going to use my glue again to glue the flaps, and I glue on them entirely because I want to make sure, and the same thing with the last example, you want to make sure those flaps are really attached to your layout so it doesn't fall apart, or you don't want to lose whatever you put inside of your pocket here. Alright, and just take your time as you glue it down. I try to get the corners really well. Alright, so once you glue it down, you can carefully glue the pocket die on top of your background piece, so you don't have to worry about lining it up with the grid paper. That background piece did that job for you. And so just take your time and glue it down carefully. And then I like to use my hand to flatten it out a little bit here. And take off any excess glue if there's any. And then the next thing to do is to place your photo on top. You don't have to use a photo, you can use something else, but I'm using my photo. And it already added glue to the back. So right now it doesn't look like there's any kind of journaling spot, right? So of course that's why it's hidden journaling, but there is a pocket, so I'm gonna put this little journaling. This is a description of all the photos on the layout, so that's another way if you don't have, in this case I really didn't have room for journaling, so that's why I made the pocket, and that way there's a little description of that describes the photos. Another thing you can do is to make a little tab for your journaling block. So now I'm using the circle die from the Circle Tiles die set. This is the little 1x1 inch die from the set. And I'm just going to use the circle and place it behind my journaling block. So this is a super easy way to add some cute little decorative element to your journaling block. All you have to do is cut out a little circle, and then I glue the bottom half of it and place it behind my journaling block in the center here. All right, and that's it. It's really easy. And then I place it in my pocket here, and then you kind of have a little tab you can pull, so that's optional. I like using this because it makes it easier to pull out the little journaling block, to have the little tab, and you can make the tab low enough that you can't see it behind the pocket, or you can make it high enough that you can see there's a little tab behind the pocket as well. Alright, we have reached the end of today's video. Thank you so much for watching. In case you are curious, the kind of scrapbook albums I use do have page protectors. I can take my layouts in and out of very easily, so I can get to the journaling, my hidden journaling, very easily. It's obviously not something you're going to look at all the time, but I do like that all my photos are protected, and then occasionally when I want to take it out, I can carefully take the page out and look at the journaling to remember more of the details about that day. And like I said earlier, I like putting a little note on the back of the grid paper to let people know to look for the hidden journaling spot to find out more about the story. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed today's video. Definitely give it a thumbs up if you did, and let me know if you have any questions in the comments below. Alright, I hope you enjoy scrapping at home, and I will see you next time.